With the 13th pick in the 1996 NBA Draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Kobe Bryant from Lower Merion High School in Pennsylvania.
Complicated shots, shooting over taller opponents, footwork with extraordinary grace, the elan vital of the athletic balladry that he put on that court. I think there has been nobody better than Kobe Bryant.
I never thought I would say it playing against Michael Jordan for so long, but Kobe Bryant, at the end of the day, Dan, will go down as the greatest basketball player that has ever lived.
Because he was the closest thing in killer will, in assassin's mentality, that we had seen since Michael Jordan.
Players even say it. Kobe Bryant had no weakness in his basketball game.
A lot of people always say who's the greatest player in the game. Jordan, LeBron. I think you must respectfully add Kobe's name in that conversation.
I think MJ is the greatest of all time, but I think Kobe is more skilled than any player that's ever played.
So how good was Kobe Bryant? I believe that Kobe is a top 5 player of all time because Kobe is a top 5 talent the game has ever seen. A lot of y'all are gonna disagree with me, but let me explain why Kobe is a top 5 talent. First, let me compare him to the 10 people universally recognized as the top 10 players in NBA history, since nearly all of them are the most talented players to ever play this game. We got Mike, LeBron, Kareem, Magic, Bird, Shaq, Wilt, Russell, Timmy, and then we got Kobe. When we look at all of them from a straight individual ability perspective, I believe that Kobe is a top 5 talent. One of the main reasons why is because I believe Kobe is one of the greatest scorers the game has ever seen. And in my opinion, I believe he's the most skilled scorer of all time. He was literally one of the few players offensively that you couldn't stop once he got going. Kobe absolutely had no weakness in his offensive game. From his technique, his footwork, and his scoring arsenal, all of it was flawless. He could take you to the rack, dunk on you. He had post moves better than almost any big who's ever played this game. He was deadly from the mid-range. He was lethal from 3. And he was so great as a scorer, he would make shots with 2 or 3 defenders guarding him at the same time. Kobe was also one of the best defenders in NBA history. He was a lockdown defender who could guard positions 1 through 3. Kobe could also run your offense and was an underrated passer who, if he wanted to, could be among the league leaders in assists. And when it came to clutch time, when your team needed a last-second bucket, there's no one probably in NBA history that you'll want the ball in their hands rather than Kobe. Now let's compare Kobe to the players I listed earlier as far as him being a top 5 talent. I'ma leave LeBron and Mike out of this since I believe they were just a little bit more talented than Kobe. But when we start to look at other players who are normally considered top 10 of all time, you can argue that Kobe was more talented or at the most just as talented as all of them. Now let me tell y'all why Kobe is more talented than them. First, let's look at Magic and Bird compared to Kobe, just from an ability perspective. Magic and Bird were extremely talented and they had abilities that were ahead of their time. They were both 6'9 to 6'10 with guard skills, with Magic being a 6'9 point guard who could orchestrate the offense like no other, and he could also score and rebound at a high level too. But when we compare him to Kobe's pure talent, I feel as if Kobe comes out as the better individual player from an ability perspective. Magic couldn't score the ball like Kobe. He couldn't shoot the ball like Kobe. He wasn't the athlete Kobe was, nor was he anywhere near the defender Kobe was. So unfortunately, Magic is not more talented than Kobe. Next is Larry Bird. Larry was one of the best shooters and scorers of all time, and a great passer who had all-time vision. He could do the most with less as far as his athleticism, but he still wasn't a better scorer than Kobe. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the arsenal of moves Kobe has, nor was he ever the explosive scorer Kobe was. He also wasn't the athlete Kobe was, nor was he near the defender Kobe was as well. So in my opinion, Kobe is more talented than both Magic and Bird. Now let's look at Wilt and Russell versus Kobe. Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain were physical marvels of their era. We can clearly see they aren't as skilled as Kobe, and they unfortunately played in a weak era which allowed them to dominate more than what they would playing today. They could physically dominate without really using any finesse, but mainly with their athleticism and the fact they were much bigger than anyone. Even with them being compared to other big men, they still don't have the same ability like some of the great big men that came after them, such as Hakeem, Moses, Shaq, or Kareem. So unfortunately, we clearly see that Kobe, based on his ability, was far more superior than Bill or Wilt, because Kobe not only dominated through his athleticism, but through his skill as well. So to me, Kobe is the more talented of the two. In my opinion, I can't argue Shaq not being a top 5 talent the game has ever seen. He was just too dominant of a player for me not to have him in my top 5. He was literally the most dominant physical force the NBA has ever seen, and he did it in one of the best eras in NBA history. And yes, even though I said I was focusing on the top 10 players of all time, since they normally make up the top 5 talents in NBA history, I have to add Kevin Durant in my list of top 5 talents the game has ever seen. KD is the most gifted scorer the NBA has ever seen. He's 7 foot with a 2 guards game and literally has no weakness in his game skill-wise. So finally, that leaves us with Tim Duncan and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Yes, Kareem and Tim Duncan are both extremely talented. They can dominate in the post, hit the mid-range, control the paint defensively, get rebounds at a high level, and are players who have no weakness in their game. But so is Kobe. Kobe's also the more elite athlete. Kobe's also still the better scorer, even arguably over Kareem, and has more in his bag than those players as far as from a skill perspective. So to me, I believe Kobe is more talented than Tim Duncan and Kareem, which puts him in my top 5 most talented players of all time. Another reason why I believe Kobe is a top 5 player of all time is his accolades. When we look at Kobe's accolades, he has more than enough to be considered a top 5 player of all time. Kobe has career averages of 25, 5, and 5. Kobe's a 5-time champion with 2 finals MVPs, 1 regular season MVP, 4th all-time in points scored, the 2nd most game-winning buzzer beaters made, and the most game-winning shots made, and 2 scoring titles. He is tied first with LeBron, Tim Duncan, and Kareem in all NBA selections at 15. He is also 2nd behind LeBron all-time in being selected on the All-NBA First Team at 11. He also has been selected to the All-Star Game 18 times, which is 2nd all-time to Kareem. Kobe also has been selected to the most all-defensive first teams in NBA history, and is 2nd behind Duncan all-time as the most selected player on the all-defensive teams. If we really just look at Kobe's accolades, you cannot tell me that he doesn't have more than enough to be considered a top 5 player of all time. My last reason as to why Kobe is a top 5 player of all time is his longevity as a player. Kobe has sustained greatness longer than almost any athlete who's ever played in the NBA. From the year 1998 to 2013, Kobe has either been an all-star or an all-NBA performer. Kobe was still at age 34 and in his 17th year playing at an MVP level. When you compare his numbers to others who've played up to their 17th year like Kareem, Tim Duncan, and Shaq, none of them were playing as good as Kobe. The only one that actually surpassed Kobe's play at year 17 was LeBron. All the other all-time greats either retired or they were out of their prime. Also, when we strictly look at the years in which he was the best player in the NBA, he actually had a longer run than a lot of players considered to be top 10 ever. Excluding LeBron, Mike, and Kareem, Kobe has had the longest run as the best player in the NBA. Bird maybe had a 2 or 3 year run where he was the best player in the NBA. Tim Duncan, in my opinion, was never definitively the best player in the league, but he did probably have him a stretch between 2003 and 2005. Magic was never definitively the best player in the NBA because his best years came when Jordan started to dominate. And if you really want to be objective about it, Jordan was still the best player in the NBA when Magic was winning his MVPs from 1987 to 1990. Even Shaq, with how dominant he was only really the best player in the NBA from 2000 to 2002. Now, when we look at Kobe, he was arguably the best player in the league from 2005 to 2010, giving him a total of 6 years arguably being the best player in the NBA. And you can actually argue Kobe actually being the best player in the NBA since 2003. But I'll give him 2005 because that's when he really started to separate himself from the rest. So if you exclude Michael Jordan, LeBron, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and arguably Wilt Chamberlain, Kobe has had the longest run as the best player in the NBA. When you take into account Kobe's pure ability, his talent, his ability to score in all fashions, his supreme defense, the accolades he accumulated over his career, and the longevity of his prime, and also being the best player in the NBA, I believe Kobe is a top 5 player of all time.